All right, y'all. Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of hashtag CB99 Talks. This is episode 89. Of course, I'm Combo Breaker 99. Back with another episode, y'all. Had a lot going on this past weekend. A lot of stuff going on in the world of WMMA. A lot of fights, And shoot, we got a lot of fights coming up this weekend as well. I mean, tomorrow or tonight at the recording of this episode, at the time of the recording of this episode, we got Invicta FC, which I'll be doing a fight companion for tonight. You know, after I get situated and everything, I'm going to set that up and, I'll pull up Invicta FC 47 and, we're going to watch that together tonight. And then we got Friday, we got Bellator. What is it, 281? We got like three flyweight fights taking place on that card. Then we got a couple of flyweight fights on the UFC card this weekend, of course, so and a strawweight fight. So yeah, man, busy weekend this past, and now we got a busy weekend coming up. So yeah, man, this episode here, I just want to revisit this past weekend, talk about a few different things. I already kind of broke down what happened in fights, give you my thoughts, but there's a couple of different things I want to talk about that some of these fighters brought up in interviews, and of course I want to just go back and talk about PFL 3 and just give you my thoughts on the whole PFL season so far. I want to talk about that. Then I want to revisit Godinez, what kind of a threat she is to 115. And I just want to talk about her skills, just talk about the appreciation of her skills and, what she possesses that's going to help her move forward in the strawweight division. So I want to talk about that, a little bit about Cortez, what she's bringing to the division because, she just got bumped up to number 15. The new rankings are out. So, yeah, she just entered the top 15 now, knocking out Erin Blanchfield. Let's talk about that. Macy Chiasson, Norma Dumont. I was looking at this recent interview with Norma Dumont. She talked about the featherweight division. It seems like she's losing hope now, So I want to talk about what's next for this featherweight division. We're going to let it live or just let it die, Is that Dana White's plan to just kind of let it die out? We'll see. We'll see. I want to talk about that, of course. Then Rose and Carla. Rose and Carla, the rematch took place this past Saturday. Let's kind of talk about what this means for WMMA as a whole, because we're talking about a high-level fighter here that everybody, was riding with, everybody loves in Rose Namajunas. But with this type of performance, is this going to help WMMA? I can tell you right now it's not. But as far as her image, in the sport of WMMA for the UFC, is it going to hurt her or is it going to hurt the sport as a whole? So we'll talk about it. But yeah, man, let's backtrack here. This past weekend was good, though. Like I said, I enjoyed the card, pretty much like I'd say, the majority of the card was good. It was like 80-20, there were some boring performances. I mean, for the most part, I think the majority of the WMMA fights and the men's fights were good. All my picks won except for the Tracy Cortez and Melissa Gatto pick. That one could have gone either way. Like I said, Cortez always finds a way to win. She is that type of fighter. But other than that, I was sticking with my picks. I was kind of torn between some of them, but then I said, you know what? I'm going to ride it out with Loopy, of course, and I'm going to ride it out with Macy Chiasson, and I'm sticking with Carla. A lot of people are like, why are you picking Carla? But I said, look, y'all going to find out why. It might not be pretty, but you're going to find out why I'm sticking with Carla in this one. But yeah, let's go back to May 6th, though. What was that, Saturday? No, not Saturday, but what was it, Thursday? Last Thursday or Friday? PFL 3. PFL 3, yeah, was May 6th, but there was 5 WMMA fights on this card. Of course, the lightweight division, the lightweights are back in action. We got a few new heads in here. Some old heads, of course, Bellator, Julia Budd, Vanessa Mello from UFC. And then we got a couple of new faces like, can't pronounce her full name, but Martina, the one that fought Kayla Harrison, Abigail Montez, and so on, right? And some of the returning fighters as well. So, for the most part, my thoughts on PFL 3 as a whole, it was an okay card. Of course, I always enjoy watching Larissa Pacheco. She puts on a good performance. And, some of the other fighters like Kolesnik, she's a good fighter. Abigail Montez, she's okay as well. For the most part, these stand-up fighters, they put on some good fights. Jenna Fabian. But I think it all comes down to the main event. I know everybody was trying to say, oh, you hate on Kayla Harrison. But no, like, the thing is with these cards, it's almost like a TV show, And, by that I mean the plot armor. If you don't know what plot armor is, that's whenever you know that a fighter or an actor, his character in the show is always set up to survive, which I understand. Like with certain TV shows, when you have a star, of course they have plot armor, right? Because the show revolves around them. There's always a certain actor in the show that's always going to make it. Like if you watch some of the Walking Dead or something, Daryl Dixon, his plot armor is the thickest of everybody's, right? Him and Negan, and probably him and Negan and like Carol in The Walking Dead, like their plot armor is heavy, it's thick because they're fan favorites. So they're never going to die in that show, right? And that's kind of the vibe I get here with like PFL, like with Kayla Harrison. She has plot armor, like she's always going to get an opponent that she can beat. I mean, and sadly, that's just how I feel. Like it just seems like there's never going to be a fighter that's going to be fit to face her or be competition. And that's why I'm always saying, like, Kayla Harrison, she's going to have to step out of the box if she really wants to step her game up, right? But that's just me. Like I said, that's just my thoughts. Like, it ain't disrespecting saying she sucks as a fighter or anything like that. No, I'm just saying, like, to really be tested, we need to see her in another organization around, much more of an, higher level of a fighter now, right? So that's where I'm coming from with that. But yeah, man, I'm just going back and looking at the card here. We had Martina Genderova versus Vanessa Mello. As y'all know, Vanessa Mello was coming over from the UFC. Genderova pretty easily 30-27 her. I mean, it was a good striking match. I mean, she just pretty much picked apart Vanessa Mello. Vanessa Mello still having that trouble of, pulling the trigger and making adjustments in a fight, just kind of prods along. I think she's fought at flyweight and bantamweight in the UFC. So now she kind of moved up here in weight. And I'm not sure if this is her weight because she just looked a little bit slower. I'm not sure if she's having trouble making the weight or if she's really dedicating herself or she just chose to go up to lightweight. I'm not sure, but it just looked like she was just kind of prodding along. And, Genderova was just pretty much piecing her up for 3 rounds, good striking match for her, good striking clinic overall. She just used her movement, used her jab, and just was really just putting combinations on Mello. Mello landed a few shots here and there, but it was all Martina Genderova. Next fight on the card was Elena Kolesnik. She was able to win a split decision over Abigail Montez, and this was a close fight. I gave it to Kolesnik. I thought Abigail Montez was just really sloppy in this fight. I talked about this the other day. I was like, why is she in there just like trying to strike with Kolesnik? This is what Kolesnik wants. Kolesnik, she likes to brawl. She can fight at a distance and she likes to strike that way. She likes to put on a show. So Abigail Montez, I'm thinking she's going to take a page out of her Clarissa Shields fight. Where in that fight, she chose to take the fight to the ground and really just put a ground game on Clarissa, right? I thought she was going to do that in this fight, but no, she chose to strike too many minutes of each round here and wasn't really going to the ground. Like there was no takedown attempts, just trying to stand and bang with Kolesnik. Now there were some close moments, but overall, I thought Kolesnik, she edged it out because to me, Abigail Montez, she was swinging some wild right hands just off the money, just swinging wild and trying to brawl in there. Every now and then she would catch Kolesnik, but Kolesnik was too game. This is what she wanted. So it fell into her game. So, yeah, it was a close fight, but I gave it to Kolesnik. The next fight on the card, of course, was Jenna Fabian and Julia Budd. And I was kind of leaning towards Julia Budd, but then I said, you know what? I think Fabian, she's going to have the skills, and she's probably going to step out of the box in this fight, not like the Kayla Harrison fight. And, I think Julia Budd is a good fighter, but she's going to be facing a big striker here. She's going to be facing a big fighter here, and I'm not sure if she's going to be able to handle this size if Jenna Fabian chooses to let go this time. And she wasn't able to. Julia Budd had a good first round, but I think she kind of gassed out after that first round of, really trying to get Jenna Fabian to the ground. Jenna Fabian pretty much won round 2 and 3, just using her striking and controlling that clinch, that inside clinch, using that size. Julia Budd, I think, like I said, I think she kind of gassed out after the first round and really couldn't make an adjustment in there to take down the bigger fighter, and that shows you how strong Kayla Harrison is to get this 6'1" lightweight to the ground, So for Julia Budd, I think a lot of people thought, this was going to be, her moment to step up and try to go for another belt against Kayla Harrison. But, she lost the fight. So that moves Jenna Fabian. Actually, no. It doesn't move Jenna Fabian up. Jenna Fabian missed a weight. Jenna Fabian missed weight by like 5 or 6 pounds, so she's actually in the -1 as far as how their point system goes. So yeah, she's still out of it. She scored a win, but she's out of it now. So hopefully she can make weight on the next one. Larissa Pacheco though, man, Larissa Pacheco versus Zamzugul. How you pronounce her name? Is that Zalanova? Oh man, Larissa Pacheco, she's just been like the highlight maker of the last few seasons of the PFL. I mean, these fighters may not be the biggest of competition, but I mean, Larissa Pacheco, her right hand's been looking good in these fights. She's been scoring knockouts. I mean, right from the jump, she started putting right hands on this girl, and she was on retreat. She was on retreat. Zamzugul, she didn't have any answer. No takedown attempts from her. She was just running. I mean, she caught a couple of right hands, ran, ate a big right hand, ran into the cage, ate some more shots, and the ref stepped in. I mean, nothing else can be said. Nothing else can be said about this one. Larissa Pacheco, she's looking good. She's looking like she's ready for that third fight. She's always been the one to kind of give Kayla Harrison a tough fight. But I'm like, yo, third time has to be the charm now. I'm tired of just seeing, these close fights. Let's see what you can do. I mean, last time out should have been it, but I'm still a little, I talked about it on my channel, I'm still a little bit up in the air on why Larissa Pacheco had to pull out the last time. That just seemed weird. She looked really good leading up. She was knocking everybody out. But how did she miss weight all of a sudden? That's a conspiracy to me. I'm just saying, like, I'm a little on the edge about that one. Something was wrong about that. I think they made her pull out. I'm just saying. But that's how I see it. That's how I just see that situation. Hopefully that doesn't happen this time around, because she is looking a little bit trimmer this time. So maybe she's trying to make sure, look, I don't miss weight or anything like that can come up. They can't make anything up. So we'll see. The main event, though, Kayla Harrison versus Martina. What's her name? Makhnakina. She's a Russian. She's like, what, a 10-time Sambo champion or something like that? 10-time Sambo champion. So this was judo versus Sambo here. But Kayla Harrison, being the main event and everybody hyping her up, went on there, put a pretty average performance. I mean, it was 30-27 all the way around, but she really had trouble with Martina. Martina is that type of fighter, that has good defense. She's physically strong, but I think she really, really gave Kayla a little bit more than she expected. Kayla wanted to be a little bit more offensive, but Martina had an answer for most of the takedowns and, how to bounce back up. So it's really just like a clinch fest the majority of these rounds. She get takedowns, but Martina was really doing a good job of just neutralizing Kayla and stopping her offense. So Kayla was always in the better position, as far as top position and just control, but she had nothing else. Like her striking, like if she wanted to strike against Martina, she didn't try that because, it's like she wasn't confident in her hands. So she just continued to hold on for 3 rounds, So wasn't really like a great performance by Kayla Harrison. I mean, she won every single round, so I guess that's what matters. But she didn't look happy with her performance. I know I wasn't, So for somebody that talks a big game and has somebody on her team talking to trash about Sambo, saying Sambo is for people who can't do judo, I mean, what kind of comeback is that, right? I mean, there's a purpose to Sambo. Sambo, to me, has its purpose just like judo has its, So that was just kind of a stupid remark to make. And then your fighter goes in and can't even shut that Sambo champion down. You know what I mean? So whatever. But from here, I want to see what Larissa Pacheco can do this time around in PFL. For Kayla Harrison, yeah. I mean, if she really wants to continue to call herself legend killer, which she hasn't really killed a legend, she's gonna have to do something big. That's just to me. So yeah, PFL 3, it was an okay card. It wasn't really like a great one. I still will tune in because I want to see what Pacheco and Fabian can do from here. I want to see if Pacheco can make it far, if she can make it back up into that realm, and actually get some get back from Kayla. So yeah. Okay, card. If you are a WMMA fan, you can go back and check it out if you want. Let's see. This past weekend, though, UFC 274, I want to talk about Lupe Godinez a little bit. Lupe Godinez, as a fighter, Lupe Godinez, what type of threat, what type of potential she has in the strawweight division. First off, I gotta say shout out to Lupe Godinez. She put on a dominant performance over Ariane Carnelossi. I thought it would have been a little bit closer. I expected a little bit more from Carnelossi, but as I looked at some of the past fights, I said, you know what, Carnelossi's defense isn't that good. She can kind of gas out. She kind of pushes too hard in fights. She goes in there head first. So, I said, I'm liking Lupe's chances here, because the one thing about Lupe compared to Carnelossi and even a lot of these up-and-coming fighters is she's got two of the basics down that's really going to help push her far. And y'all know what I'm talking about. Lupe got hands. Some people don't think Lupe got hands, but Lupe got hands. Lupe has very good boxing. Been following her, pre-LFA, followed her in the LFA and watched her hands get polished up even more. Watched her in her first UFC fights, and I was like, okay, this girl has hands. Like, I just need to see her put a little bit more pizzazz on it, as far as, being a little bit slicker with her jab. But other than that, like, her technique with her boxing is very committed. She has a very good jab. She has very good feints, good distance management. She can really walk you down, or she can fight off the back foot, throw some nice kicks, kind of like Holly Holm. She's very athletic, very, very committed to her shots. She just doesn't like throw little flurries. She's committed to her punches, good combinations. So her boxing is good. And then the combination of having that and her wrestling, like, her wrestling is like off the charts, in my opinion, just for seeing what she could do on this lower level. Like, I'm not saying it's like top notch where she's ready for number one, but I'm just saying, like, out of this crop of unranked fighters, her wrestling really stands out. I mean, the positions that she was using on Carnelossi in this fight, the way she was able to get the back, I mean, her grappling, just really, really ragdolling this big muscular fighter. It was just like fun to watch. And it was just like almost similar to how Valentina was doing to Andrade. She was able to get those back positions and just neutralize the bigger opponent, just really like crank the neck and throw her around, ragdoll her, and all the while never gas out. That's why I said, like, her wrestling is really, really impressive, because she knows how to get her opponent in top position. She knows how to get top position, to get side control, and use those moments to catch her breath. Like, she's never really like gassing herself out. She knows how to fight at a high pace, but still pace herself. You know what I mean? Like, I find that impressive, just those positions that she was putting in. So to me, I think Lupe can be a very, very big threat to strawweight, because she has those two big basics down there. I think a lot of fighters have trouble getting down. And that number one in there, not just the wrestling, but in her ability to get takedowns. She's not just like wrestling you to the cage and sitting there and putting the blanket on you. She's muscling you down, like, she's picking you off your feet. She's slamming you. She's switching levels after she boxes you and she takes you down to the ground. So, Lupe Godinez is got a lot of good things going. Like, some of these other, like, high-level fighters, in their disciplines, like Mackenzie Dern, she'll come in off of the jiu-jitsu background, but she's still having trouble, even though she's at this high level now, even though she is top 5. Like, she's had this trouble of getting, like, fights to the ground and getting these submissions because, she doesn't have that wrestling. But I think with Lupe, what she has, if she continues to nurture it and improve in her strength, she'll get up there soon, like with Lupe and Lemos and all these fighters. Lupe will get up there with Lemos and, potentially fight Dern, within the next year. So if she continues to just, like, improve on her wrestling, like, it'll be on Carla's level, because Carla, on her level, it's always worked for her, but she can be figured out. See, with Lupe Godinez, she'll box her way in, she'll hit you with some hard shots, and she's got the strength and just like that character about her that says, look, no mercy, I'm coming in and I'm going to take you down, right? Like Andrade in a way. She's a little bit more of a force than Carla Esparza. Carla's a little bit more tactical. That's why I think Lupe's is going to be effective against a lot of different styles. It's not just effective against, like, the weaker frame fighters like a Rose against Carla. I mean, Lupe's eventually will work against the Marinas, maybe a Lemos, a Waterson or Ebos. I think it'll work against all of those styles because she's physically strong. She'll push in. So I think that's a big part of her game that's going to help her, the takedown. She can get them. But, like, back to her hands, like, her hands aren't anything to joke with. You know, she gets respect. Like, that's the part of Tisha Torres, like, I think keeps her back. Like, Tisha Torres, similar styles, but I think that Lupe's a little bit more committed to being harder with hers. You know what I mean? Like, I think Tisha can be overcautious. You know, she throws rapid hands, but she can't hit as hard. Where I think Lupe doesn't really just commit to like flurry. She commits to good, calculated 1-2-3s or 1-2s. And, you know, that really gets her what she needs. So she's off to a good start. Lupe's off to a good start where she's doing some things better than the fighters of the past. And that's what you're supposed to do. Like, the older fighters from 2014 in the strawweight division, they laid the groundwork. But this next generation, they're evolving. And that's what you do. That's what you do, like, to get better in this game. Like, you have to evolve. And that's what the fighters like Dern and Tisha Torres need to look out for. Like, this evolution of the younger fighters here. Like, Lupe really is, like, evolving. Like, what Lupe's bringing, the more and more she nurtures it and improves, it'll take these fighters out. You know, she's picking these fighters up. She's slamming them. Her, like I said, her combinations are crisper than some of these other fighters. You know, she's committed to boxing and wrestling. Like, she's not just looking to be a specialist in one thing or just be one-dimensional. You know, she's doing multiple things in there. Her grappling, wrestling, boxing, kickboxing, you know, her ability to take fighters down, you know. So I'm not like trying to overhype her. I'm just saying, like, the level she's on, if she continues to improve and just really understand what she has, you will see her in that top 10 pretty soon. You know, I'll say top 10, not top 5 yet. You know, I don't want to rush it, but yeah, you will see her in the top 10 because she is evolving to catch up and kind of I think, you know, when she evolves, she will be able to catch up and take out some of these fighters that are about ready to go. You know what I mean? Like, fighters that were so committed to just one or two things. You know, I think she'll be getting those fighters out of there. But yeah, this past weekend, I was impressed with what she did, definitely, you know, and I see big things for Lupe Godinez. But moving on, oh man, Melissa Gatto. This is why I said, look, and people ask me, can I put Melissa Gatto in my quadruple threat? Can I rotate somebody out? Nope, can't rotate nobody out yet. Melissa Gatto, I got to see one more fight from her. And I said the Tracy Cortez fight is the one that's going to tell me if she's ready. If she went in there and stopped Tracy Cortez, oh yeah, she would have been in there. But I knew she wasn't going to stop Tracy Cortez. Like I said, Tracy Cortez, to me, may not be a potential threat like to the champion yet, maybe not have this dominant style, but Tracy Cortez knows how to win. You know, Tracy Cortez knows how to go in there and find a way to win, and that's what's important right now. You know, I think the dominance will come on later for her, you know, but right now she knows how to face these different looks and impose her style on you. She'll impose her style on you, but she's also defensively responsible. You know, I think she'll go in there and shut you down with her wrestling. And, you know, she knows how to slip out of a lot of submission holds like she was doing to Melissa Gatto. I think Melissa Gatto was just too committed on her back to try to submit. And I think that's what Tracy Cortez was having fun with. You know, Tracy Cortez is very good on the ground. You know, I think her defense is underrated. You know, I think a lot of people want to see more explosiveness, but the defense part of her is where I give her a lot of credit and where I was very scared for Gatto going into this fight. Like, her hands are okay, her offense is okay, but it's her defense and her ground control. I think that's what made her impressive in this win over Gatto. Gatto looked to be dangerous, I know, right? But when you look at resume, I should have really went off her resume because Cortez has beaten quite a number of good fighters, you know, dangerous fighters like Agapova and Blanchfield early on, and fought at 135 and beat Stephanie Edgar, you know. So those are much better wins when you really tally it up. I think Gatto has a much more impressive looking win over Sarge and, you know, a stoppage over Leonardo, which was just because she broke her arm. But other than that, Cortez still had the better wins. You know, I think Cortez still had the better wins, and for good reason, right? So with that being said, looking at the rankings now, you see Tracy Cortez enters in at number 15. and that knocks out Aaron Blanchfield, which kind of sucks, you know. But I think with Tracy Cortez going on what now, four fight win streak in the UFC, you know, she's ready to end it, right? I mean, I know she's been off for a year, but that's how it is. I think when that 15 spot is, you know, is I think that's how it is. You know, the 15 spot is like game. It's going to be like that revolving door because whoever stays active or whoever has the next fight or whoever looks good in their next fight, they're pretty much going to continue to teeter back and forth, right? So if Aaron beats her next opponent, JJ Aldridge will knock her back up there. If Tracy Cortez beats her next opponent, it'll knock her back up there until they have to fight again, right? So I think that's just a situation with that. So I'm not really mad at that. I mean, I thought Aaron's win over Miranda was a little bit more impressive, but it is what it is right now, I think, you know. So we'll see. They're all still at the bottom, and they all still need to really kind of work and make big statements. So, yeah, Tracy's in there now, and we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what's next for her. But like I said, I think she's very defensive responsible, and that will get you far. That will get you far, you know, but you need that dominance part as well. All right. So, let's see, what else? Let's talk about, I already talked about the fight, but let's talk about featherweight right now. After that fight this past weekend with Macy Chiasson and Norma Dumont, you know, I was a little half and half on it. Part of me was entertained, but that third round just kind of, it kind of took me out of the game a little bit with the featherweights just because I wanted to see a little bit more explosiveness there. I mean, shout out to Macy. She had to do what she had to do, but I think she had to really turn it up because, you know, Dana White is watching. And when I say that, I mean, you know, these fighters, they have to give Dana a reason to make this featherweight division thrive. Now, I'm not saying you got to go in there and get knocked out or get busted up, but at least go out swinging, you know what I mean? Or go out putting on a clinic with your hands, like not just clinching and holding, you know? Same goes for Norma Dumont in this fight. You know, Norma, she, to me, really should have tried harder to control and take the center and let her hands go more, you know, dog it out, because right now, I think after this fight and after that booing, you know, Dana's probably going to be like, well, this is not really a good reason to try to build a division around these fighters right now, right? That's kind of what I'm thinking, you know, but hopefully he sees something in there because, you know, I did, like, for the most part, I'm not going to say it's time to throw it away because Dana White, Macy Chiasson, you know, hasn't really had a chance to thrive at 145, right? She's been having to kill herself to make 135, and she continues to fight at 135 every now and then. You know, she was fighting her last few years there, right? So this really is her, like, a first official fight back. I mean, her last fight against Rocky was a short notice fight, but this was like her first official one back at 145, you know, and same with Norma Dumont. Like, Norma, you know, she's been like the only one holding it down, but, you know, this is like her first time facing like a full-fledged one in a minute, right, since Felicia Spencer. So I would say they could still give it a chance, but we'll see, man. But I just want to pull up this article here because I got this question, you know, like, featherweight division, what do we do, man? Do we let it live or do we let it die? You know, should we stop talking about it? Should we just let it go? Just let it die? Because Norma had this to say. Let me pull this article up here. Norma Dumont doesn't know why UFC is insistent on keeping featherweight division open. Wow. It almost sounds like she's ready to leave with that being said, or she's ready to move back down to 135 or try to kill herself to 135, which I don't think she should do because she had trouble making, well, like I said, that was probably that 0.5 issue with the scale, so she probably made weight. But let's see, this is what she said. My situation today in the featherweight division is who wants to fight. That's the problem. Holly Holm didn't want to fight in 2021. She didn't get injured. She just didn't want to fight. She signed the contract, then pulled out 10 days before the fight. Aspen Ladd only took the fight because she was in a bad situation after missing weight again at 135 and didn't have many options. The UFC pressures the athlete. The same thing with Macy. She lost and missed weight, so she was in a bad spot. The fights the UFC is booking for me are opportunities for athletes that need fights, and I know it's not easy for the UFC to book them. First, everyone's afraid of this division, so no one wants to move up. If you have a ranking, you force an athlete to fight to earn better positions. You don't have that at 135. So girls don't have much interest to take a tough fight without knowing where they will go from there. You don't have a goal in this division. I don't know why the UFC is insisting on keeping the featherweight division open. Every time I finish the fight, they ask me, go down to bantamweight because we're shutting down the division. So you hear that, right? I don't know why the UFC is insisting on keeping the featherweight division every time I finish the fight, they asked me to go down to 135 because we're shutting down the division. I started going down and they would send me a fight at 145 again. I don't know what the UFC plans are and what's going on, but the girls they're sending me, it's not about rankings or anything. It's just the options they have. All right? And let me read this last part before I kind of give you my thoughts. She said, I prefer that the UFC told me to go down once and for all. It's a complicated situation. I don't want to take full responsibility because the UFC Performance Institute told me, look, if it's up to us, you're staying at 130. You're staying at 145. At 135, if the UFC tells you to do it, or if you decide to go down, we'll help you. But it's not our responsibility. It puts me in a bad situation. If I go down and miss weight, it's my full responsibility. Wow. So after reading that, everything that she said, that's pretty deep, man, on how she probably feels so frustrated right now. So to me, off of what she's saying, I mean, this is what I'm getting. I think everybody's getting the same thing that I've said in the past. It's like she feels like she's going nowhere. Like all she feels like she's doing is fighting because there is no structure around this division. Like there's just Amanda Nunes with the belt, and then they just throw her fighters to fight, and she'll do it. But as soon as she beats somebody at 145, they're like, hey, go back down to 135. Then she's like, okay, I'm going to start working on it. And, you know, the PI said they'll hook her up, but they're like, hey, we're looking out for your health. You should probably be at 145. Look, if we had our way, you stay at 145, right? But, of course, they said they'll help her, right? So right then she'll go down to try to go down to 135. But what happens? They say, oh, stop. We got to fight for you at 145. So she's probably thinking like, well, what is it? Like, what are we going to do here? You know, am I staying at 145? You know, or am I going down? Like, which is it? Just let me know and I'll try to get down to 135 and stay there, right? Once and for all, like she said. But no, it's like every time it's kind of like a back and forth thing. So my thing is like, if you're kind of playing this game with somebody that already has trouble making weight, same with Macy Chiasson, why not just go ahead and take the chance to make the division instead of making this person, you know, always have to take these opportunities on the limb, or like I said, try to put their body through hell trying to make this weight, right? Because she's like, look, I'll stay. Like a while back she did an interview. She was like, hey, look, she felt like some type of way. You know, she felt like confident in herself, saying, look, they see me as the next big thing. You know, I'm representing the featherweight division right now. You know, I tend to be that next thing. So after a few more fights, I'll be fighting Amanda Nunes, right? That's what she thought. But now her tone has changed because they kind of been playing with her. Like 1 minute she's here fighting this person, but then it's like she said, it's not like flyweight or strawweight where you can take on Amanda Ebas or you can take on Yan Xiaonan or Mackenzie Dern and boom, I'm number 4, number 5. Here it's like, okay, I'm going to fight a blown up Aspen Ladd, or I'm going to fight a Macy Chiasson and I could beat him, or Felicia Spencer, you know, I get a win over her, right? I beat him, and then what? Where am I ranked? I just beat that person, then what? I got to go back to 135? You know, there is no structure there. So that would be frustrating for her. So maybe she was thinking that last year that since they were putting everything on her and really trying to keep 145 and bringing Holly Holm over, that she thought they were going to start like structuring this thing out, like Holly, Macy, who's the other fighter? Zara dos Santos, her, and maybe add in a few more girls, right? Have a few few girls move up to 145. Maybe that's what she was thinking. But as time went on, she was like, this is still going. And I'm fighting nobodies here. I'm fighting blown up bantamweights. You know, one Holly Holm pulled out. Now I got to fight Aspen Ladd, who, you know, is not really a featherweight. She just, you know, she just missed weight. So now I'm fighting her. But now I'm fighting Macy. Win or lose, like, where am I going to go? Like, where am I going to be on this ranking, right? So there are no rankings. You know, so I understand where she's kind of coming from. And after hearing that, for me, it's like, if she's feeling that way, why should I support that? Why should I say, hey, UFC, make a featherweight division, make a featherweight division? Oh, let it die. You know, that seems like what it should be now. Let it die. But let's see, what else did she say here? She said, look, Aspen Ladd missed weight so many times, and every time she wants to go down to 135, they let her do it. Sometimes that's not that acceptable for Brazilians. So we don't have that much leeway in the organization. So we have to be careful. What am I going to do then? First, I have to follow what the PI has said and stay at 145. I prefer if the UFC said it's over, go to 135 and let's move on. It would be much easier for me because I'd suffer to make weight the first time, but then my body would adapt to the division and I would know where I'm going with the win. Okay, so she feels like if she struggles at one time to make 135, from there her body will acclimate to the division and she can move on from there. Okay, maybe. I don't know, but maybe. So maybe that would work for her, because then she'd say, okay, I'm number 15. I know where to go from here. I can fight Carol Rosa. I fight Carol Rosa. I know if I beat her, I'll be number 9 or something. I can fight Sarah McMahon and beat her, and I'll be number 8. So that's where she's coming from. She just wants structure. And the UFC is really making it hard to make a featherweight division right now for whatever reason, you know. And right there, she just stated that too. Like, she knows they kind of play favoritism for somebody like Aspen Ladd. You know, she's kind of fitting their demographic, right? You know, which Norma Dumont's not too far off. I mean, she's Brazilian, but she doesn't really have like a darker complexion, you know, or anything like that. So I don't know if that is really the situation with her, you know, because I think she kind of fits their demographic too as far as looks. But I guess, you know, nationality, you know, when you really start to simmer it, you know, drill it down, maybe that is a reason why they do play favoritism with Aspen over her. You know what I mean? But I know they do that with fighters like, they would do that with Aspen over Tanisha Tennant and stuff like that, right? But I never really thought that with her. But, you know, she's calling it out like that because I guess she's really, you know, in there and feeling it. But, yeah, she would rather just take that chance. She said, look, she just take the chance and go down to 135. Look, if they shut down the 145-pound division and tell me to go down where I'm going to be in the rankings, she said I'll be 15, which she was 15 at bantamweight. You know, if you go back and look at the rankings, she's still in there. She said, I beat Felicia Spencer, Aspen Ladd, but I'm number 15. Where am I going to go with the win over Macy Chiasson, who's number 11? Are they throwing me in the top 5? It's very complicated. I feel like I'm swimming in the ocean but not going anywhere. Honestly, I don't really think Nunes will even defend the featherweight title anymore because the division is so thin. There's no reason to keep going up and down in weight just for ego. If I were her, I'd just stay at 135. I'll fight Macy, but I don't know what the goal is. I'll ask for a title shot with the win. This was, of course, before the fight, which, you know, she lost. But we don't know if there will be another title or not. But as long as they tell me to stay at 145, there's no reason for me to take full responsibility to cut the weight on my own if the PI tells me as they don't want it. Wow. There's more, which I'll post up the link. Well, this is the last paragraph. I'll go ahead and read it. Well, of course, no, I ain't even going to bother because she was talking about winning this past Saturday, and, you know, that didn't happen. So I'll stop there. But, yeah, I feel where she's coming from, though. Like, right where she said she feels like she's swimming in the ocean and she's not going anywhere. I feel her pain because for the fans, we're like, you know, what is Amanda Nunes doing with this phantom belt, this featherweight belt? Like, who are you defending it from? Like, we know who you want it from, but, like, are you really a champion? Because there is no division now, right? It's just kind of like an exhibition thing or some little trinket they gave you because, you know, that you're Amanda Nunes, right? But other than that, they're not building a division around it or around your belt. So to me, it's like, shut it down. I think they should just shut it down now because a fighter like Norma doesn't really see him going anywhere. Macy Chiasson, she still, even post-fight interviews, she still talks about like in featherweight, but still game on a mission for 135. But I tell you right now, man, I put money on it. If y'all made a featherweight division with 20, added maybe another 18, 20 fighters, then Macy Chiasson would change her words. You know, she would go on a mission to stay at 145. But see, they have to continue to teeter and toy with 135 because they know that's where the structure is and that's where the money fights will be. So they have to continue to kill themselves to make this weight, which I don't think is good, right? Just make them a doggone 145 division like 135 so they can stay at the weight that's healthy for them. That's my final words on that. So if they can't do that, get rid of it. And that's where Norma is. So I think that's where I'm just about at with it. I mean, if some other featherweights outside of the UFC, they think different, hey, you know, they can voice their opinion on that and say, hey, you know, then I'll rock with them because I would like to see them get their opportunity. But other than that, for now, there's always Bellator, right? So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that, guys. I feel bad for Norma on this one. Even Macy Chiasson, they have to continue to chase 135, even though they shouldn't be there. So, let it live or let it die. I say let it die now. You know, that's it with that. All right, last topic here. Rose and Carla. I already did some videos talking about this one, man. Rose and Carla, too. Worst fight all around now. I just keep drilling it down. First time I said worst strawweight fight, worst WMMA strawweight fight, worst WMMA strawweight title fight. Now it's just the worst fight in the UFC. And I mean, hey, it is what it is, man. It is one of the worst fights, and I can't help but laugh at it because I'm just like playing some clips now of it, and I'm like, wow. I'm like, wow, you never seen two MMA fighters do this. They always talk about boxers dancing around or, you know, going on their bike. But look at this fight, man. And the thing about going on your bike and boxing, there's a little bit more strategy and science to it. But in MMA, when you're considered like the best of the best and you got all these tools, you should not be playing this kind of game. That's all I got to say about that. But Rose and Carla, man, after this rematch, again, you know, shout out to Carla. She's now the two-time champion. She did something Joanna didn't do, so I know Joanna's stewing right now. Shout out to Carla. But the one thing I have to, you know, kind of address here, you know, in this podcast episode is after watching this fight, you know, and looking at the performance of Rose Namajunas, I can't help but think that this is something that Dana White, he's not going to tolerate, along with a lot of potential fans of WMMA. And that's what I think pisses off a lot of hardcore WMMA fans like myself about a performance like this, you know. And that's why I say this is one of the worst fights and one of the most boring fights, even more so than Valentina Shevchenko versus Liz Carmouche, because even in that fight, there was something about Valentina's approach. She wanted to fight. Liz, she took on this other strategy. You know, she was, of course, the challenger, but I still had to give the champ credit in that fight for wanting to engage. It was the opponent that didn't really want to full-on engage in that fight, right? This one here, the champ just took on an approach like they didn't want to go in there and dominate or showcase their dominance like everybody says they have, or like show that you are the best like you're chanting in your corner, like you're saying, I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best. Well, I don't think the best takes this type of approach in a fight, you know. A champion can go in there and be tactical. They can, you know, take their time. They can play chess. They can be economical. They can pick their shots. But they can't do this, man. They can't put the fans to sleep like this. And I think, like, going back to what I was saying, like the potential fans, they get pissed off. The hardcore fans get pissed off because right whenever the sport is getting good, you know, right when you get a fight of the night, like, you know, you get fight of the year, 2 years ago with Joanna and Zhang Wei Li, or if you get really good fights like between Mackenzie Dern and Tisha Torres, or like Marina Rodriguez and Michelle Waterson, and you know you start to bring fans in, and they're going, okay, I'm gonna give it a chance. I give it a chance. You know, the casual fan, that is, or like the fans that watch the men's fights, they're watching. They're like, okay, I'll check it out. But the minute they see a fight like this, especially on a pay-per-view, especially as a co-main event, especially as somebody everybody bigged up as one of the best champions of all time, that's pound for pound, and Rose Namajunas, when they see a performance like this, they're ready to take their card back. They're ready to say, nope, I revoke my WMMA card. I'm not watching this crap. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm just saying what they say now. Like, I'm still going to pay attention to WMA, of course. You know, I'm still going to watch it because I know. But like the closed-minded fans, though, the ones that were almost won over, they're still looking for a reason to not like WMMA. And this fight is the perfect example for them to do that. You know, disagree or not, but that's what it is. Like, if you go to look at comments, a lot of people are saying Rose is trash, Rose is trash, this fight is trash. I'm not watching women fight again. They're that closed-minded. That's how they think. I'm just repeating what they say. You know, so stuff like this can't be tolerated and won't be tolerated, I don't think. You know, Dana White, he's not going to have it. So moving forward, this is bad for Rose, but this is also bad for Carla. You know, I'm giving Carla credit, and I'm not really putting a lot of blame on her, but some will be put on her for Carla being Carla, because the higher level she gets, she's going to have to put on more shows. Now, she did well coming up, you know, doing what she had to do, but when she holds that belt, it's time to start seeing blood, and it's time to start seeing dominance, you know, and that's why Shevchenko gets a lot of credit, because even though Shevchenko isn't drawing a lot of blood on herself, you know, putting on these type of fights, you know, getting her head knocked around, she's still imposing dominance in the game. And that's what you need to do. And if you can do that, then Dana White, he can't say anything, right? If you're doing one or the other, if you're rock 'em, sock 'em, he loves it because you're knocking people out. You know, you're that type of champion to go head up. But if you're like this other calculated champion that has dominance and you're shutting people down, you know, you're not looking scared like Valentina. So he's got several type of champions like the Kamaru Usmans, you know, that might trade a little bit, the Izzies. Then he has the Valentina, who's, you know, very, very surgical with it, you know, very, very much a scientist in there with hers, you know. And you got those two type of champions, but they're all on their game to the point where he can't get mad at them, you know, because they all impose dominance somehow. So Carla, now that she has this belt, some of the blame is definitely going to be put on her here, you know, especially by Dana. You know, that's why he's saying now, look, the number one contender fight is going to get this title shot, because he knows that they're going to bring it. You know, they're going to put that fire under her behind, you know, the winner of the Joanna Weili rematch, right? So he's trying to line that fight up now. You know, even though I say Marina should be next, he knows that Weili or Joanna, they'll get the job done. See, Carla holds a win over Marina already. They already have their history with a little, you know, back and forth of a split decision fight. You know what I mean? So he might not want to take that chance, because he knows that if Marina goes in there and gets her rematch with Carla, there's a good possibility Carla could beat her again, right? But if you put somebody like Weili or Joanna in there, you know, Joanna, that's Carla's kryptonite. I mean, we go back years ago, that could happen again. He'll back that, because then, boom, he has a new champion, right? We're just looking at the business side. We're just looking at reality here. Look, again, I want Marina to get it, but Dana White can't take that chance right now, because if Marina goes in there and does what she did the first fight, she'll lose, and then we still have Carla as the champion. He still has Carla as the champion, and he don't want boredom as the champion, right? You know, so I'm just talking reality here. This is what he wants. So that's why this fight that took place this Saturday was just such a bad thing. Like, I was one that talked it up, because I didn't know it was going to be like this. I'm just trying to be fair and say, look, this person earned it. Carla earned it. Rose, she's supposed to be this different fighter now. Give her chance, you know, to redeem herself. That's why I had this as one of my strawweight fights I really needed to see. I did a video on that a while back, right? But, you know, it turned out to be nothing. It really did. It turned out to be a dud. So now that that's already taken place, you know, it's really got WMMA in a place now where I think fans are really back to going to saying, I don't want to watch this anymore. And again, I'm not talking about your hardcore fans on my channel. I'm talking about the ones that are starting to peak, you know, the ones that are starting to stand in the doorway and watch it with you. You know what I mean? Like, the ones that stand in the doorway, they start asking questions like, oh, who's that? Who's that? Right? But the minute they see this fight, they ready to go, oh, I'm leaving the room. I'm going to go play some games, or I'm going back to sleep, or I'm shutting the door. You know what I mean? It's that type of situation. you know. Always looking for a reason just not to like it because I like it or something like that. So yeah, man, it's really coming down to that now. And I think that after watching this fight, there's certain things that Dana's not going to tolerate with Carla or Rose. He's not going to book a rematch or rubber match between these two for a long time. He's going to avoid any type of wrestler versus wrestler fight or any type of boring fight here. He's going to try his best to get Andrade to be in there, or like I said, give Joanna her shot to become the two-time champion. So it was on both of these fighters, man, to go in there and put on somewhat of a show. Like I said, it doesn't have to be rock'em sock'em like Whaley and Joanna, but at least it had to be somebody going in there putting on some effort. You know what I mean? We didn't even get nobody in this fight established a good leg kick. Nobody even established a jab. And I'm talking to y'all Rose fanboys out there. Y'all were talking about her boxing. I talked about her boxing, but y'all were talking about her boxing being effective in this fight. Where y'all at now? Where y'all at now? Because y'all the ones telling me that she was a completely different fighter. I was the one telling y'all that Carla's still in her head. I said that Carla has the mental edge, But y'all said all of that's gone. That's going to be canceled out now. Of course, I did say it was supposed to be a different fight because she's different, right? But there's still that history and mental edge. But I wanted to see what y'all saw. Like, y'all said that this is a different fighter. She's going to stop Carla. She's going to knock her out. Sure. But yeah, with what Rose did and what Carla did, it's not good. It's not a good look. It's definitely not a good look, especially for, the big fan base. They're definitely not going to put Carla or Rose on a co-main event anytime soon now. Hell, if they did a rubber match with these two, it'd be on the prelims at 1 p.m. in the afternoon on a Saturday, or it would be on like a UFC fight night prelims, So, yeah. What was I saying, though? Yeah, like I said, nobody in this fight established the jab. Nobody in this fight really established their rhythm either. Like, even Carla didn't establish a rhythm, but, fighting on the inside or, trying to, lock on here. Carla, Rose, neither one was getting leg kicks going. I mean, at least Andrade, she was going in there smacking that leg of Rose. Even Joanna did. They were getting some type of rhythm going, but these two here, they were just, especially Rose, man, she was just in her own world. Posturing, posing, doing whatever. But it's like I said in my other video, I ain't gonna go into it in this one, but go watch the other videos. Like I said, I just think Rose, she's not one to be detached from her team, and that's kind of scary sometimes because that means she can't really think for herself, because she would need to in certain situations, but in this situation, her team wasn't really giving her the best advice. They said ignore the boos. They said you're up 4 rounds. They weren't giving her the right advice. It's like they can't get any louder than a whisper with her with certain things. They have to be really patient with her. So that's another thing. If y'all want to hear more of what I say, just check out that video. But yeah, man, moving forward from here, I would like Martina to get her shot, but business wise, Joanna Whaley might be up in there next. Andrade, she's talking her trash too. So Carla's got a mark on her back. Carla's definitely got a mark on her back, y'all. So yeah. What's next? Yeah, one of those fighters. Let's see here. Probably Marina, the Whaley Joanna winner for Rose. If Rose chooses to come back, I guess somebody like Mackenzie Dern would be doable for her. If Rose comes back. So we'll see. But yeah, man. That's about all I have for this episode. I might come back and do another episode real quick because we got a good weekend coming up. Bellator's got 3 fights. We got Lachana Green, Chiara Pinko. That's the first fight on the prelims on the Bellator 281 card. That's a good flyweight fight. Return of Lachana Green. Y'all know she was in the Tough House like years ago. Who else do I say we had? We got Kate Jackson and how do you pronounce her name? Caliendo. Kate Jackson and Caliendo. I'm a fan of Kate Jackson. Also from the Tough House, the same Tough House as Lachana Green. They came from the same Tough House, that strawweight edition. And of course, Dynamite Denise Kielholtz versus Kana Watanabe. I'm looking forward to that one. So I'm gonna have to come back with another episode, and we're gonna talk. We gotta talk about these three. Yeah, and let me see on the UFC card. We got strawweight fight Angela Hill versus Verna Genderova. And then, of course, we got Viviana Araujo versus Andrea Lee, flyweight fight. And then we got Caitlin Chikagan versus Amanda Ebas. So these are all good fights this weekend, man. And then, of course, tonight, while I'm recording this episode, a few hours from now, we got Invicta FC 47. We got Emily Ducote taking on Elisa Zapatella, who's moving up to 115, the challenger for her belt. Courtney King versus Chelsea Chandler. Brittany Cloudy versus Serena De Jesus. Lindsey Van Zant versus Jillian DeCourcy. And a few more fights on the card. So, yeah, definitely got a big weekend starting Wednesday. And y'all join me tonight for this fight companion at 8 p.m. Y'all can watch the fights for free. It's on YouTube. So, yeah, man, that's all I got, guys. Glad y'all could join me once again. But like always, this show here, I put exclusively. Well, I don't put it exclusively. Y'all see it on YouTube as well. But I put it on my platforms first, like iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, all of that. So make sure y'all follow somewhere on one of those platforms, just in case you want to listen to it while you're riding to work or while you're sleeping or whatever, cleaning the house, any of that. So hashtag CB99 Talks. That's where you can check it out, guys. But subscribe to the YouTube channel. Shout out to everybody that's always coming through with comments and subscribing and, always keeping it alive in the live stream shows, So, yeah, guys, that's all I got on this one. A lot going on this week, like I said. So let me go ahead and get started. Let me go ahead and get the mind right for these fights. Make sure y'all subscribe. Combo Breaker 99. I am out. Peace.